Hello again, my friends. Dr. Gabe Roberts, the subconscious healer, here today with another breaking free from chronic pain, chronic suffering, and chronic symptoms video. The topic I want to talk about today is I want to share with you a little bit about how the brain works, a little bit more than a little bit more about how it works, how it perceives, and how it makes, predictions, okay? And how this really influences the feelings that we have. And the feelings we have particularly are the main feedback mechanism that our reticular activating system within our brain uses, and our amygdala. Okay, so what we're basically going to do is kind of go over some of the blueprints of how the brain works again, and get a better understanding that the feelings in our body on a large part are governed by the voices that we hear in our head and the images that we see in our mind. Okay, and I'm going to share with you a little bit of what's called holographic manipulation, and what you can do to immediately change the way you feel about something rather strongly. So we'll cover all that in today's video, but first let's give our brain a signal of safety. Just place your hand over your heart with me. I'll just invite you to do that with me. 3 deep breaths with longer exhale than we inhale for. Followed by a deep feeling of gratitude. So, just a few minutes of that brings our brain and heart into coherence and gives us a very powerful signal of safety, okay, that lasts up to 6 hours. So, great way to practice that. So, let's talk about, a little bit more about the brain, get to understand how it makes decisions and predictions, and what we can do to kind of interrupt this and change specifically something that is giving us linguistic or imagistic, bits of data that's changing the way we feel. Okay, pictures and voices that we hear changing the way we feel. So if your boss yells at you, or if you have an argument with your spouse, or you have a very a big argument with someone, or just something negative happens that happens because you're observing it, you've recorded it visually, and you hear the sounds associated with it. So if somebody's yelling at you, you hear their voice, and that's what makes you feel like crap. And oftentimes we ruminate in those things, in those experiences, and what we're actually doing is ensuring our brain learns that process even deeper, and that as a result of that, those images, those sounds, and those feelings become a larger and larger growing part of us. And that's how people get stuck in problems. With health problems, it's oftentimes their mind is in such fear that their body is far from recovery, no matter what supplements and no matter what diet and no matter what, how many greens they're eating. I regularly meet people all the time that are recommended to take stuff, and their gut is just so in such distress because their brain is just overloaded with stress. And so we have to start with micro safety things before we can ever think. And they're usually like, but doctor, we got to work on my gut. And I'm like, I understand, but if your brain is in full out threat response, there's no way your body's going to let off that gas pedal. And if your body won't let off that gas pedal, there's no way your rest and digest system is going to be operational at all. at least not to the degree that's needed for you to sleep, have deep sleep, and actually heal, right? And most of neuroplastic changes take place when we're sleeping, so we want to make sure that we're minimizing stimulants after 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock. No caffeine, no screens, minimize screens, or don't use them all if you're having trouble sleeping, and that can be a way to give your brain a little bit more relaxing signals from the environment that bedtime is near. Okay, think of going to rest rather than needing sleep. If you tell yourself, I'm gonna go rest for a bit, and if I can rest for a bit, everything's gonna be good, that's a much safer signal to your brain than I need sleep tonight. Come on, I have to get sleep, I need sleep. Different message, different interpretation by your brain, different result. So your brain, again, is giving you feelings because of images in your head and voices you hear, sounds you hear with that. So your brain is locked inside your skull. True or false, right? It's not sitting out here. It's inside your skull. So it is locked inside of it's locked inside of a skull and completely blocked out from any daylight at all. It's not exposed to any light. It's exposed to what the five senses tell it. So your brain is making an interpretation based off of electrical signals from your five senses. What you're seeing, what you're hearing, what you're touching, okay, as well as internal proprioceptive body feelings, gut feelings, little twitches, things like that happen. But feeling, and then of course smelling and tasting. So you got five senses, and your brain is operating from data from those. And as I don't want to get into other ESP and stuff, because I know that stuff is real, things like remote viewing, but that's a whole nother video in itself. If you're interested in that, comment and I'll speak on that, because it's something else I've studied. But your brain operates off the five senses inside of an area of complete blackness with no exposure to light. So it is making everything up as holographic, three-dimensional prints based on what the five senses are telling it. So what I mean by that is, if you even smell a rose, if you imagine smelling a rose right now, just the smell of it, and maybe even feeling those gentle petals touch your nose as you smell it, and your brain already is producing a three-dimensional image of a rose that's holographic in construct. So that's how your brain makes images. It's not because it sees them, it's because it sees, it doesn't see, it gets electrical signals from your eyes. Your eyes capture light, turn into electrical signal, goes to the back of the brain, and you actually see with this part of your brain, right? So your brain's responsible for everything, okay? Pretty simple. So if something is bad, so we see we record images that are playing in our brain as holographic imprints, just like I did with the rose. Now, and those imprints make us feel certain ways. For example, if you are allergic to roses and I'm saying smell a rose and put your nose into the rose, that's likely making you feel entirely different than somebody else who enjoys looking at a rose and having a rose in a vase in front of them. Completely different experience, right? So, but if you have an experience that is less than ideal, that's recorded inside of your head, and it's playing over and over again, and it's something you don't want, something you don't like, makes you feel not good, whatever it is, there is a way you can scramble that hologram up, changing it drastically, and therefore the brain is suddenly interpreting it completely different. Therefore the feelings about it completely change. So you can make some kind of event that makes you feel crappy, and you're playing it over in your head, and you see it often. Maybe you don't like it, but it's there, and it plays often. And if you're listening to this message, you know that you're wiring it in more. So sometimes it's more difficult to if you have enough willpower and you've focused enough, you've practiced enough, because willpower is a practice. You can get better at it with practice. People do, but it's an intent focus, okay? So if you have enough willpower, you can stop thinking about it. But sometimes your brain will want to go back to it. Your part of your brain is actually wired to be more magnetized towards negative news than positive news, than bad news than good news. It's kind of a built-in survival mechanism, but you're naturally wired 4-to-1 to gravitate more towards negative news than you are positive news. Everyone's brain is that way. And some people, it's like they've, not intentionally, but they've unknowingly multiplied that, and their brain is just constantly looking at worst case scenarios on everything, and they're lost in thought. They don't even know they're thinking. It's a non-ending conversation where they are not even aware that it's their brain going and not necessarily them. But again, that's how your brain creates experiences, is through the 5 senses. It creates these holographic, 3-dimensional, holographic imprints that your brain creates, and that's how you see images. And if it's something that is making you feel bad, you can scramble that up. Well, how do you do that? Take a couple of deep breaths and think about a time whenever you something negative happened. And I don't want you to go to the worst case scenario, at least not without a lot of practice on this, okay? Don't try something, don't throw your biggest monster at something you have no experience doing, because it'll usually turn out bad and you'll think, it didn't work. No, it did work, but you have to get trust, and you have to get familiar with it, and you have to have practice before it can really start working for you. And that goes with anything at all, right? From playing a guitar to meditation. So think about a time when something bothered you, somebody argued with you, you had an event occur that is recorded in your mind, you don't like it, and play the movie through. Play it like a movie, just watching the scene, paying attention to it. Take a little moment to do that. And then rewind it like a VCR, because after all, remember, it's just a recording, and you are in charge. You're the editor. You can do anything you want to this recording. That should give you a little freedom. You're sitting here with me recalling a recording is what you're doing, okay? So it's, first off, realize this thing's not you. It's a recording. Secondly, realize it's already over because you've survived it, whatever it is. And you're here right now, and you're thinking about something. So you already have won. You've already overpowered it. But the problem is it's just running in your head sometimes, and you don't like it. It's taking up too much bandwidth, and you would rather have your mind directed towards something more positive. That's what I hope, that's what my intention is for you to use this method for. But play that over again, that scene of that time that made you feel less than happy. You didn't like the feeling of it. But this time I want you to play it over, and I want you to make it into a cartoon. You can do that. Just make it into a silly cartoon. Make sure everything is just colored like it's drawn. And just now play it through like a cartoon. And look at everyone that's in it as a cartoon figure. And everything that's in it as cartoon. And then rewind it and watch it again. And this time watch it about twice the speed as before. Watch it again. Play through, same cartoon. Watch it and rewatch it, rewind twice as fast, and play twice as fast. And now the people that are in that cartoon that made you feel less than ideal, maybe they said something, maybe they did something, but now you can do whatever you want with them because it's your cartoon. You can make their face look like Shrek's. That's a really good one. Make their face look like Shrek, or put Mickey Mouse ears on them. Make their voice sound like Alvin and the Chipmunks. Do something like that. Just play around with it like a cartoon, and just continue to play it faster. And now After you've playing it over and over like a cartoon, change the black and white, change it to rainbow colors, just change the colors of it, and watch it just keep playing over and over and over. And you need to do this at least a dozen times because it's neuroplastic. Really focus on it, but make it a cartoon and make it silly, and make the people that were perhaps responsible for crossing a boundary emotionally or physically, and it's made it to where you carry this with you don't like, change it up a bit. That's all you're doing, and you're manipulating a hologram that your brain has recorded. But do it at least a dozen times or more, watching it like a cartoon just play over and over, and get a little faster, and make it silly. Make it very, very silly. And the more you play it, and you make it very vivid with colors, you make it black and white, you make it rainbowish, play around with the colors a bit, however you wish to. Some ways will make you feel good. Some ways will make you not feel good. When it doesn't feel good, go back to something that makes you feel good. Leave it how you want, because it's your recording in your brain, and you can play with it how you want to. But after you have this edited version of a memory or an experience that's playing over and over in your head with chipmunk voice and Shrek heads and whatever else goofy thing that you can conjure up, notice how you feel about that experience now. Notice how differently the feelings in your body have just shifted, because you've basically laid down some new tracks with your brain. You've actually used neuroplasticity in a rather positive way, and that's up to you. It's your brain. You can use that for what you want, but practice that a few times with some events, and I would start maybe at a intensity of maybe like a 2 or 3, 0 to 10, 10 being a really, really traumatic event, something that was really bad. Okay, start with a 2 or 3 in intensity, and then as you do that, do it again for 3 and 4, and then do it again for a 3 and 4 again, then maybe go into a 4 and 5, increasing events that have potency behind them, emotional potency. And you can do that, and your body can actually process this data differently. And when that happens, that's what's happening. Your brain is processing information differently. And when that occurs, it will change the feelings of how you felt about that. So use this how you wish. Use this for something good, but make it a way to improve your life. And like and share if you enjoyed this. And I will see you tomorrow with more.